One of the top two things I can think of that will fry a young horse's mind is trying to open and shut a gate on a green horse.
Well, welcome to the Ranch Horse Resource Podcast. I'm your host, Rhonda Van Norman, and today, once again, I have my husband, Ty Van Norman, joining me. Ty is a lifelong rancher, cowboy, and a horseman who's been around some really good hands. So we're bringing you little tips and tricks of the trade, mindset strategies, and practical exercises that you can apply to your own horsemanship experience. Ty, thank you so much for joining us on this episode. I would like to talk today about a challenge that a lot of riders face, and that is getting their horse to move through a gate when you want to open it and close it calmly and without rushing or resistance.
I would say one of the first things doesn't work well is if you're in a hurry. Especially on a green horse. That's maybe one of the top two things I can think of that will fry a young horse's mind is, and just get them to where they're super bothered is trying to open and shut a gate on a green horse. And it's one of those things that if you're in a hurry, you just as well get off and get the gate and get back on and shut it, or go through it or whatever you need to do. Because if you rush that process, there's a lot of steps to what that horse has to be able to do. For one, he's got to be able to get off your leg, to side pass up to the fence. But he's got to be able to take half steps. And it's really hard for a colt to do that, especially when he doesn't. He's still trying to figure out how to go forward and backward and stuff. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll circle around. If we didn't, and I'll approach the gate again. Like if the latch is on my left, I'll circle around to my right and come back down the fence line before I get ahead of the gate and down to the latch. And if things don't line up, I'll set him again until he gets to where he's comfortable with getting there, and we'll stand there. That way I don't have to reset him side to side so much. Now some colts will be really bothered about getting next to the fence. But this is a spot where if you try to rush that, you'll get that horse so bothered that it'll start showing up in other parts of your training, your other parts of your maneuvers, or other parts of just being useful, just because you've gotten after him for something small there, trying to hurry up and get a gate.
Ty, can you share with us one time when you had a horse that was bothered? Can you give us a picture of that? Like, what did the horse do to tell you he was bothered?
Yeah, they get to where they want to dive back and forth. It's kind of like crossing the water for the first time, although I don't think it's as hard. I don't think crossing water maybe is as hard as getting a gate, because, but they'll get to kind of jumping back and forth and bothered about getting up there. Like crossing water, they'll put their head down, and you might have to block them and drive. They'll usually either jump or cross it, and you can work your way back and forth. But when you're dealing with something that keeps them from going forward, it's really hard to get them. They want to go to it straight, but they don't want to. They have a hard time getting over there sideways. So that's why I try to approach the fence line, come down the fence line to the gate, so that you're parallel with the gate and as close as you can get to it then. And I just try to teach them to get to the gate latch and relax and catch their air. Maybe just let them rest. I don't even worry about opening the gate. But this is all something you have to do prior to when you need to get the gate open. So it's one of those deals where, like I said, if you're in a hurry, you just as well step off, open the gate, and step back on, because you're going to create something in that horse that's going to be a lot farther down the road before you can get it fixed if you start rushing these things. And then the next time you do it, he's going to have a bunch of anticipation and just anxiety built up from what you created the first time. Then as far as making things smooth, I just try to keep it as smooth and quiet as possible. It's nice if the gate swings, which we've been around plenty of gates that don't swing. You latch them and then you got to halfway drag them. Those are better to get off on sometimes anyways, but then you might be hit or miss, but it gives that, if you can get the gate unlatched, it gives that horse some room, push it away a foot or two, and you can give some room to let him side pass or step through it, and keep pushing it out of your way, and repeat that going back the other way when you need to shut it. Pretty soon they'll just get smoother and smoother on that. The main thing is just keeping them quiet and keeping it simple for them to figure out. Like if you get up there and you're a foot and a half away from the gate and you can't reach the latch, don't spend a lot of time trying to get a green one to side pass over there. Circle back around and get him closer to where he's coming up against that fence closer and closer, so that he doesn't have to you don't have to put all that pressure on him at that moment to get that specific thing done.
I like how you painted the picture of the horse going through it calmly, was maybe not perfectly.
You can't just stay with the gate and keep pushing it around there. On a colt, a lot of times you're only get one step at a time, so you got to give him some room, push the gate away, give him some room to step to the gate. On a broke horse, you're going to be able to pick that horse up, push him over with your leg, and just you're going to be able to stay right with the gate, go around the end of the gate, keep your hand on the gate, and push him the opposite direction to shut the gate. That's how you make that colt into that broke horse, is being able to keep him calm in there. And the more he learns that he can push sideways, side pass, however you want to say it, where he's not necessarily blocked, that gate doesn't block him, it gives to him, then he's going to stay a lot quieter. And I don't know, I fix a lot of problems going forward. I think where we run into a lot of times, for me anyways, and the way I was taught, I guess, you run into more problems when things start going backwards. For me to go backwards, I mean as in reverse. So a lot of the things I do, I go forward. Even my turn, like turning or side passing, there has to be forward motion in order for that horse to keep it simple in my mind. Because, horses back up naturally, some, but you don't see them doing that a lot. They do everything going forward. Even their turns and stuff are forward. So, and it might be as small as just a shift of weight forward to multiple steps, but you very seldom see a horse out in the loose, just backing up and backing up. So it's comfortable for that horse to go forward, and he already knows that. So if you can figure out how to go forward and get in position, it keeps everything simple for him. Simpler, I should say, in my opinion.
So some of the things I'm hearing you say that might be part of your mindset is to keep things simple, to keep forward motion and not put a lot of focus on side passing or backing up or making it perfect. Keeping things smooth is a mindset, and building steps, realizing that the colt doesn't have to do it perfectly. It'll come in time. Is there anything else that you could describe to the listener of what goes through your mind when you have an impatient horse at the gate and you're trying to help it be calm and wait for your instructions?
Well, the first thing I need to be conscientious about is how important is it to get the gate open. Like if there's cattle coming or there's a timeline on getting this gate open, then there's no sense in trying to force a square peg into a round hole. So you just as well step off and get the gate and go from there. If there is no time, I'm going to make sure that horse is comfortable about doing a circle right there by the gate, where he's comfortable about moving forward and rolling away from the gate and the fence and coming back to the gate and getting quiet and taking a break there. If they're scared, like a colt, sometimes they're scared when you reach off to the side or your weight shifts in the saddle. We're talking a green colt here, then that's a good place to work on that too. I'm going to push my weight back and forth in my saddle, stand in the stirrup, pet on him as much as he can stand, petting on there, and to know that that's a good place for him to be. And then eventually, if I'm close enough, I can touch the gate and rattle it, and we're just going to bring out all these little pieces in one thing at a time. I think the main thing is not getting frustrated, because if you don't have a plan, you're going to get frustrated. Most horse riders, if they don't have a plan or the lack of knowledge, is what makes people frustrated. And I'm not saying that I haven't been there. There's a lot of things that are usually when I find myself frustrated is because there's something that either I'm missing or I need to gain more knowledge of.
Yeah. So speaking of being frustrated, I have done it myself and seen other riders also do it. When they get frustrated, they might jerk on the reins to try to get them to come back. Say you got close to the gate and then the horse takes off, and a first response for a lot of people is to jerk on the reins and to make them come backwards.
As far as being frustrated, I think that's another one of what we touched on that one of our other podcasts about the emotions. I mean, our emotions, we need to be in check of our emotions. So sometimes you just got to quit. Like if things aren't improving, but they got better, then quit there. Go do something else. Go ride him around, do something else. Come back to that gate later. Or even if it's turning into a wreck and you're getting more frustrated and the horse is getting more bothered, just go do something else. Put him up. There's a lot to be said. For me, there's a lot to be said about just stopping and starting over. Part of how a horse learns is repetition, but it has to be quality repetition. So if you're to the point where the quality is going downhill, whether it's from you or from him or the horse, then just quit. The whole thing of not letting them win and you've got to be the one that comes out on top every time, I think that's a misnomer. I guess if you're going about it that way, then you're probably going about it a different way than I've been taught. So, there are times where horses are lazy or they don't have much try. Those horses that don't have a lot of try are really frustrating, especially they just are, because they don't have a lot of try. But there's, something that'll move its feet is a lot easier to place somewhere to work with, because they're willing to go somewhere. They're willing to. Horses with no try don't have a lot of. They don't retain very well a lot of times either, because they didn't try to even get the maneuver in. But so those can be frustrating, I guess. But a horse that's trying at all, if he's even trying at all, but he's still bothered, and say he's not getting up to the gate, but he's still bothered, he's at least trying to understand what you're trying to get from him. So get it a little bit better, but just work on, like if he's still bothered, heck, you might be resting 10 feet from the gate latch. Get him there. Maybe tomorrow you'll be 8 feet from the gate latch. Maybe the next day you'll be 6 feet. Just work your way in that way. And if it was that important to get the gate open, get off and open it a foot. It's not that big a deal to me that the horse, a lot of people have a mentality that the horse got away with it or the horse won. I don't know that there's any such thing in that way. I guess it's one thing if the horse was being more malicious or protective of itself so much that you missed other signs coming into it, but that's pretty rare. Most of the time a horse is bothered, and we miss how to interpret that, and then we miss how to read it too.
Well, Ty, it seems like we could talk about this for 2 more hours, running different scenarios and different exercises and different mindsets, but I'd like you to leave our listeners with a couple thoughts of what they could do at home, even on their older horses, because sometimes they get impatient at a gate too, and they know exactly what to do, but maybe they're getting anxious to go to the trailer or to catch up with the other horses.
I'm going to get as close to the gate as I can. If I'm say 3-4 feet away from the gate, instead of trying to hold him there and side pass him and have him trying to figure out, and a young horse maybe not even back up very good. Then he starts rearing because you're pulling on him and trying to side pass him, but you can't go forward too much. You'll be past the gate. Just go forward, make another loop, get as close to the fence as you can, and go down to the gate latch. See if you can get him stopped at the gate latch. Just work your way in that way till you got him where he's coming around there, follows the fence down to the gate latch, and will stand there. Just work your way into that.
And talk a little bit more about the importance of rest when you get to the gate latch, just letting the horse stand there, because honestly, that's a little hard for a lot of people, is just sit there and not do anything when they're trying to think about getting the gate open and closed and going somewhere. They maybe have an appointment or a lunch that they want to go to or something, and to just be able to sit there and not do anything is a little contrary to some of our thinking.
Well, if you have an agenda or an appointment you have to get to, there are some things when you're training a horse or riding a horse that you should probably not even plan on trying to rush. This is dang sure one of them. So as far as resting somewhere in a good place, like most everybody has a cell phone on them. So once you get to a good place, I don't know, check your texts or do something, take a breath. Just pet on him. A good rule of thumb for me is I'm going to try to rest as long as it took me to get there. So if it took me in a minute and a half of working him and trying to get him in the right position to where I felt like we could rest, then I'm going to try to wait and rest, let him stand there and rest as long as that time frame was that it took me to get there. I do that on cow work when we're trying to get these horses to work cows. There's got to be a reward in there. And when you got a young horse like that that's working on that, if it took you a while to get to the gate, then you need to rest. Once you get there, you need to rest at least. It'd be nice to rest as long as it took you to get there if you're taking it in short little spurts, or at least half as long if it took you, if you felt like it took you a long time. But it needs to be long enough for him to remember that he got to rest.
Well, thank you for listening. We made these podcasts aimed at sharing just little snippets of tackroom talk, from bits to breeding, roping, riding, and horsemanship. Perhaps if you listen in every week and apply the little shifts, the small changes, that you too will find the outcome quite rewarding. So if you enjoyed this, be sure to follow the show and go ahead and share it with a friend. You can also come hang out with us in our free Facebook group at Tackroom Talk. Okay, we're out of here. Keep up the good work and don't let discouragement keep you out of the saddle. Bye for now.